What's up, guys? We played another game, and it's kind of weird because the last video I posted, the game right before this, my opponent had a 91.3% accuracy. I had a 91.4% accuracy. Here, 88.3 and 88.4. In that game, um, it ended in a perpetual. In this game, ends in me perpetualing with a knight instead of a queen this time. I know it's weird with a knight. That game, draw. This game, draw. And I rarely even have draws at all. So just back to back, so many similarities was kind of weird, but okay. Let's go through the game. I open up with c4, d4, Queen's Gambit pawn structure. He develops. He can go into literally anything from here. Okay, he goes into Queen's Gambit declined with d5. And normally I just develop my knight and then decide what to do with my bishop. Here, I decided to delay it for one more turn and develop my bishop. Sometimes I'll put it out, sometimes I put it in. And that's because I don't know any theory, so I don't have any lines prepared. So I kind of just do what I feel like. As long as it's a developing move, I'm okay with it. So he breaks the pin. Now I bring out my other knight. He puts the question to the bishop. I just take because it's a tempo move. And this gives me practice playing without that bishop in these structures. I go e3, and now all my pieces look nice. My pawns are on dark here. I'm ready to develop. He contests the center immediately with c5. I hate when they do this. I don't know. Something about it I don't like. I should probably just get used to it if I'm gonna play d4 c4. I should probably just come up with some ideas against it. Either just always give him an IQP or always accept it. I don't know. But I take d takes c because his bishop is no longer on this diagonal and can't take it back immediately like it normally does. Instead, he can take my knight though with check, giving me wonderful triple isolated pawns. Of course, they're not going to stay that way. I was expecting to lose two of them anyway, so at the end it's really just one isolated pawn. He goes queen a5. I think it's a typical idea to attack the c5 pawn once you take, but in this case it comes with extra threats. Gotta watch out for this guy. I bring my queen to b3, just protecting all of this. A little pressure down here. Just developing a piece, getting ready. Okay, so he takes his pawn back with the queen, and now he puts a little pressure here. And now I decide to go for a forced queen trade. It's definitely not necessary. You can definitely just develop or move your knight into the center maybe. Instead, I forced the queen trade to undouble my pawns. Kinda clever, right? But then he castles, and this guy's pretty weak, and I'm not up a pawn. If I was up a pawn here, it's different. Now I go c4 because I need to get rid of this weakness as soon as possible. It does come at the cost of development, which is not the best, but he's not so developed either. You know, where is this stuff going? Nowhere. So he moves his rook, anticipating some type of trade. I develop my bishop, obviously not to this square where it lines itself up. He develops here because he wants to bring his bishop somewhere. Makes sense. I bring my rook to c1 because if any trades happen, I can bring my rook in here. Also, it puts pressure on the undeveloped bishop. It develops a piece. and I can also push one day if I don't want to take, if I want to push. He fiancados his bishop. Now I castle. My development's completed. He still has a knight to bring out. Position's relatively equal. I would rather be white because this pawn looks a little stifling to black. He develops the knight, and now he's going to use this as a nice, beautiful outpost for his piece. So that's not good for me. I bring in my last piece into the game on a file that's likely to open, and he immediately plants this here, which makes perfect sense. And now black has a really nice position. I jump my knight into the center because I don't have many other moves. He brings his rook into the center, and now we're kind of we have our pieces more or less where we want them. You have to now come up with a move that just doesn't lose. It's not always easy because you feel like you have to do something, and so you just make a move that's really bad for your position, where it would have been better to just move your king back and forth because that doesn't destroy your position. I go bishop f3. I thought maybe it's a slightly better square because this is definitely happening at some point or another. So instead of being on this passive square, maybe we can go a little more active. But now he takes the pawn, saying maybe there are tactics in the air. You know, because there's a lot of stuff hitting different stuff. So there's a lot to look at and a lot to be sure. But I looked at most of this stuff before I made this move because you kind of have to. And so you take with check, which forces his rook to take with check. And then I take the pawn, which looks scary. I will not lie. Why didn't I take with this pawn? I mean, with this piece? Hold on, I'm trying to remember. Don't tell me because I wanted to plant it here at some point. I mean, leaving the back rank looks so crazy. I'm trying to remember why I did that when there's a knight here that I can recapture. And all I can come up with is maybe I wanted to put it here. Like after the trade. Whether I trade or he trades. I mean, if I'm going to do that... No, yeah, I do not like rook c4 because it evacuates the back rank when I should have taken with the knight. Then he goes knight e4, which is a weird move. It blocks this diagonal. It does hang itself, but it's saying take the knight and I'll back rank checkmate you. So you can't take the knight. But the knight is somewhat threatening to go to d2. I say somewhat because you could move the rook. And even this is defended twice, so it's not like it's hanging or anything. So you can use this opportunity to make luft for your king, which is probably what you want to do at this point since he doesn't actually have a threat. That's hilarious. It doesn't even say that as the moves until I play it on the engine. Did you see that? It said g4, g3, h3 as the top engine moves. And then when I played rook c7, it says it's the only move. What? Okay, so great move. Obvious move. Another reason I didn't like his knight jump was because it immediately let my rook infiltrate, making my rook c4 actually a good move. So thank you very much. And of course I saw that the back rank is defended by the bishop. Now he brings the knight back, saying whoops, gotta defend this guy. And again, tactics. Yes, it's hanging, but I can't double take it because he will checkmate me. So there is this move here, knight takes f7, but after that, rook to d2, and I don't know, I didn't want to mess around with something like that. It's way too sharp, and you have to calculate like 50 moves in a head. So I did the logical thing. Next best move, h4, creating space for my king and taking some space on the king side. Now he trades. I open up some room for my king. Now he doesn't want to lose this pawn that's hanging. So he kicks the knight. The knight creates a fork. The rook comes to defend. I trade. He takes. I take. Now we're in a knight endgame. I'm up a pawn. And that's that. He improves his king. I go here with my knight to A, stop his king from moving one square over, and B, pressure this pawn so the knight can't move, because my B pawn's too far advanced to let it be a passed pawn. So I thought this was a decent move. So then he improves his king this way, and in this a position like this, I've never, I have zero knowledge. I've never read a book or watched a video for a position like this. I don't know anything about it. I have no chess understanding other than the passed pawns and tactics, regular tactics and stuff like that, and activate your king. But I have no idea which pawn to push and when and what you're trying to achieve. I have no clue. All I know is improve your king, try to get your piece active. So, I mean, his king is pretty close to this guy, so it made sense for me to improve my king. Now he improves this way, and it's annoying because he can get to the center and I really can't. So I just go up one, he goes over one. I go h5 to cement this pawn and cement this pawn. Obviously he can never push because that gives me a queen. And now I want to push my f pawn and then try to sneak my king in this way. He moves over, I push the f pawn so I can sneak in. He goes, wins my pawn, and now I realize, like, if I just, my knight, yes, it's fine there, but because his king is so active, I need to start taking pawns with this knight because my king's not doing enough work. So I defend this pawn for one turn just to get his king further away. And then I jump my knight in because last turn I couldn't jump my knight in here anyway. So I defend it, force him to come here, frees up the square for my knight. Of course he takes, and now material's even, but he can, if I could leave my knight here and protect this pawn, but I don't want to do that. I want to try to win. I also have a far advanced pawn here. I have two far advanced pawns. So I start going pawn hunting. I know it's super risky because I'm giving him a passed pawn on the B flank, and it's gonna be, and it's not like I calculated all of this to see that I was faster or something, and I only have 2 minutes, so it's super risky. But I felt that if he does take this, I'm gonna take this, and if I have to, I'll sack my knight for this pawn. I just want to take the h6 pawn. I just want to take this pawn. And once I take the h6 pawn, I'll happily sack my knight. So he pushes because his pawn's under attack. So it makes sense. I use this as an opportunity to get the f5 square, which hits the pawn that I want. So he shouldn't have pushed it because it gives me, it's better he loses this pawn than this pawn because of this guy. So he pushes, and now I jump in the hole. He moves his king out of the way, and now he's ready to race. Who's gonna go first, right? So I take the pawn, he starts running, I go back to get out of the way. It says that there's one winning move in this position for white, f takes e, but it's like a 30 move crazy variation. You have to make all the right knight jumps, and it's impossible to do. So anyway, I go here because I'm just trying to bring my knight to this side of the board, and now I can push. Ready to sack, ready to push. He keeps pushing. I wish I had this square available, because then it would have been easy, super easy for me. But it's covered, so I'm like, man, I need to get my knight. I need to get my knight in a position to sack, or I'm gonna lose. So I go to the only square available. I have to jump as close as possible, and now he goes for my knight. So a lot of people here would be super scared, would have no idea what to do, and would lose the game. I was super scared. I had no idea what to do, but I did not lose the game. I went knight to b3 because I found this, and I've never seen this before, but I found this weird drawing mechanism that if he wants to kick my knight, he has to come to one of these squares. And when he does, I will have a knight check. Right? If he kicks my knight, I will go back. If he comes the other way, I will have a knight check. And so we did this and it was a draw. And this is the end of the game. But let's say let's go back to this one. You know, I give him this check and he doesn't want the draw. And he goes here. Well, then I'm just going to push. If he pushes, I'm going to take, and his knight actually for one turn can stop this pawn, but by that point, you know, then I'm winning all of a sudden. So that's kind of crazy that this king and pawn can't do anything about this knight, even though it's so close and my other pieces aren't doing anything. So it's pretty wild, actually, that as soon as the king wants to attack it, it checks him. Very interesting. Really cool. Happy I didn't lose that. Boom, 2300. I did lose 2 points though, just like last time. That's what I'm saying. Eerie similarities between this game and the one posted before it. Alright, another really good game. Let me just see. H4. I wouldn't even consider that a mistake unless this is a classical game. Then I would consider that knight takes f7. A4. There's probably better moves, but with 2 minutes on my clock, I doubt I'm gonna find them. This is best. That's way too 5-head for me. That looks just losing to me. I don't get it. Yeah, and some weird. Yeah, so I'm happy with this game. I would like to say no mistakes, but the engine is so picky. I guess if there were no mistakes, I would have won. My opponent played pretty well too. So, alright, it's another draw. Losing 2 points at a time. We're gonna try to climb with the next game.